Hello there, and welcome to An Englishman in San Diego, a cup of tea. This is where we get ourselves all gathered together as a bunch of SDCC fans and talk San Diego Comic-Con, con culture in general, and also things that are happening in the world of nerd and geek culture. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's the 5th of October 2014. We're 276 days to go to San Diego Comic-Con 2015, which means, what, 39 weeks and 3 days? So the clock is slowly ticking. And also we're getting very close indeed to when things start getting particularly real, especially as possible attendees, because of course we have we're weeks away from the pre-registration badge sale, which will be happening soon, which we'll hopefully be covering that a little bit later on today. We've got ourselves a number of guests. We'll get to those in a second, but first things first, you are also the guests on this Hangout. We would love to hear from you. If you're watching live, thank you very much indeed. You can take part by going to the Google Plus event page, clicking on the Q&A button on the video, and of course asking any questions that you would like us to discuss within this Hangout. You can also contact us via Twitter. I'm sure we've all got, our guests have all got their own individual fans, and they're more than welcome to field questions themselves. But if you want to get in contact with the Hangout directly, if you go to CupOT SDCC, as I've just suddenly realised, I've got the Hangout details from the conversation I had with Brian Stevenson, and I've just suddenly realised I've got the hashtag from that up on the screen. I don't think we particularly want to have that, but that was a particularly good conversation. If you do get the chance to check that out on the YouTube channel, by all means do have a look, because we did pretty much cover most questions when it came to New York Comic Con, which is something which we'll be talking about a little bit later. There you go. CupOT SDCC is the best way to get hold of us on Twitter. I'll be keeping an eye on that hashtag. By all means, any questions, not only today during the course of the Hangout, but also throughout the course of the week, any questions you want us to cover, we'll be gladly taking those on. Right, we have ourselves a number of guests then, and we've got ourselves 3 with us now and 1 joining us shortly. Because somebody's having 1 or 2 work commitments, so she'll be joining us very soon indeed. First things first, though, let's go through our guest list live with us at the moment. First, we have ourselves. Sorry, I've just seen the tagline down at the bottom of the screen. We have Tina from Red Dot Diva. Diva on an insomnia. Brilliant. Hello there, Tina. How are you?
Hi. Good. I'm feeling good.
You're feeling slightly buzzy because it's 1 o'clock in Singapore, and you should be asleep, or you should be kind of. But
Yeah.
but instead you're talking
It's
to
a
us.
good thing that it's a public holiday tomorrow, so.
Oh, that's okay then. So you can have a bit of a lie-in. But yeah, you're talking to us, and you've got your cup of tea, except you haven't got tea. You've got wine. What have you got? You've just got you've just got the red out. That's fantastic. Oh my word, excellent. So it's good. I'm not saying that we should turn these hangouts into the geek equivalent of the vaginal fantasies book clubs where they just get drunk and discuss books. I don't think you never know. We could head in that direction as we get closer to Comic-Con, but who knows? Excellent. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Tina. Next up down the line, we have ourselves Mark Serby, one of my countrymen who has joined us. Hello, Mark. How are you, sir?
I'm all good, thanks. Yeah, doing well.
Excellent. Now, Mark is rocking the professional microphone and the professional headphones, and it's making me feel particularly lightweight at this point. But thank you very much indeed for intimidating me just by the... No, I was going to say something like intimidating me with the equipment you're showing on screen, but that's a whole other hangout. That's something else entirely.
Yeah, we'll do that after 9 PM UK time.
Excellent. That's the hashtag CupOT SDCC after hours. That's the that's the hangout you need to be really this. That's the one which has got the explicit content mark when I post it to iTunes. Oh my word.
That's the one my mother can't watch.
That's the one my mother will subscribe to. Who knows? Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Mark. We'll come back to everyone and we'll talk about what you've been up to. But next, but certainly not least, we've got ourselves Martin Burke. Hello, Martin.
Hi, everyone.
Martin is a new face to the Cup of Teas. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I know Martin from the Google Plus community on Google Plus for Comic-Con. Well, I suppose it's best if you introduce yourself, I suppose. Tell us all about yourself, Martin.
Well, so I live in San Diego County, so I've been going to Comic-Con now for a number of years. My family goes, have some kids, and my wife goes, my brother goes, his family goes. So it's a big thing we do. We all cosplay. That's kind of our main niche at the con. Like Mark, I bring my own equipment.
Oh, man. Thanks.
Professionals are in the booth.
Yes, well, I'm just waiting for someone to sponsor my website, so then I can start affording things like this. But hey,
there you go.
okay.
So yeah, I have nothing to promote. I'm just a fan. Try to go to the local shows. Go to WonderCon every year, and yeah, just an enthusiastic fan of the media.
Well, I mean, I met you through the Comic-Con Google Plus community, and you were one of the first ones, and you were always kind of helping out and with questions and comments. So I know that you became a moderator for that. But so I do think that it's certainly more than just an enthusiastic fan. You're certainly getting back into it and giving back. But I also know that, like I say, your cosplay. I really do hope that after this this hangout, if you go to Martin's Twitter, is it probably best to go to Twitter if you post some photos?
I think I'll probably post them mostly on Google Plus.
Yeah?
Maybe I'll put up a link for that.
Excellent. Yeah, follow Martin on Martin_SD. I'm going to encourage you to post a couple at the very least after this hangout, because your cosplays are just incredible. They're really, really impressive.
Well, thanks.
Is San Diego Comic-Con the main con that you go to? Where else do you go to?
We do go to WonderCon. This year we went to Long Beach Comic-Con a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was just last weekend. That was great. It really was. Much smaller. Apparently they are expanding. They're going twice as large next year, so we'll see how they do. But they have an incredible focus on Artist Alley. So that was for being a small con. The Artist Alley was nearly the size of what you'd see at WonderCon or San Diego Comic-Con. It was really impressive. Their main headliner was Amanda Conner, who was signing her Harley Quinn. That was kind of the big thing of the weekend. There were a lot of other creators there. So they had panels, much smaller panel lineup than you would have at one of the larger cons. But they had a Saturday evening cosplay contest. Weather was beautiful, parking was great. So yeah, I would recommend that. And they're a twice yearly show. They do a Long Beach Comic Expo end of January. So we're definitely going back for that. Supposedly they used to be different, but they've now decided that they like that formula, I think, and they're doing the same thing kind of both times. So I don't know that I would recommend coming from a distance to go to it because it's not very large. But if you're driving distance, Southern California, it was an excellent day. Really liked it.
Cool. Did you cosplay for that as well?
No. We drove up in the morning and came back that afternoon. That's just too much work for one day. When I say Martin cosplays, like I say, his preparation starts weeks in advance when it comes to fabricating stuff. I'm not just saying he just throws on a Superman outfit that he bought down at Walmart. This is something else. He goes over the top. It's not over the top. He goes above and beyond. That's the better way to put it. My wife has been the main creator over the years, but I'm learning and helping more than I used to. But there was the cosplay. There was fantastic. There was a ton of it, and they had a cosplay corner, which was kind of cool, where they had all the cosplay booths and a big banner for Cosplay Corner, and you could go back there and meet everybody and sort of hang out during the day. And so yeah, they've decided that they're going to, unlike the article that I think you're going to bring up later, that thinks cosplay is taking cons down. These guys have decided to really run with it. So.
Really embracing it. Excellent.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, I think we've discussed before on these that I'd really like to do some cosplay, but frankly, the suggestion from the missus to put me in a Chewbacca outfit for an Englishman in San Diego temperatures. Well, I'd lose weight in sweat alone. Good grief, it'd kill me. Excellent. Is there anything else that you've been doing since Comic-Con, since July, Martin?
Not particularly, no. I'm actually going today after we get off the phone here to what is very aspirationally called SoCal Comic-Con. It's a really small con in Oceanside. It's a one-day thing where they've got some cool guests. They've got they had the co-creators of Wolverine signed up, but I think his first name is Len Vine had to back out. So there's still Burke is going to be there, so that'll be pretty cool. And a fair number of creators of sort of smaller books. IDW is San Diego based, and so they're going to have a big booth there, and they have some of their creators are going to be there. So yeah, should be a lot of fun for just a quick one day. Mostly sales floor and probably a few signings.
Cool. Well, I mean, if you are watching this, if you want to follow Martin on Twitter, I'm going to encourage him, if not to post pictures of his previous cosplays, but certainly then, yeah, absolutely, let us know how that con goes, because that sounds like fun. Martin_SD. So that's his Twitter. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Martin. Just catching up with everyone else then, because this is the second episode of this particular run of A Cup of Tea Hangouts. Find out what everyone's been up to since July. Mark, what have you been doing since Con Madness?
Not a lot, really. I mean, still reviewing films and things like that, but the summer has been quite quiet for films, really. I mean, you've had the big tentpole films occasionally and stuff like that, but I found it's been very quiet, especially over the past month or something like that. For big films, it's been very quiet. However, it is starting to ramp up now. You can start to feel it coming through. Interstellar is starting to come through as well. Obviously, the whole thing with Chris Nolan screening it on 70mm 35. So it's all coming through now. It'll be a couple more weeks before The Hobbit and things like that. Next week, London Film Festival starts, and that's for 10 days, and that is basically 12 hours every day of films non-stop. I'm there 4 days, but only in the evenings. But yeah, it's getting busier. It's getting busier. I seem to be out more and more now, so it's having the break after coming back from Comic-Con was quite nice.
Well, I think the summer kind of got the second that Comic-Con finished. I think the summer got pretty much dominated by Guardians. That pretty much went to the top of the box office chart and kind of stuck there like a limpet. It just kind of like glued itself into that chart. So certainly for the nerd geek stuff. But I mean, there's been a couple of big films that have attracted a lot of attention. So I think it's been, certainly for yourself, there's been a number of films that have attracted attention. But like you say, Interstellar, for me, is certainly the next thing that's kind of attracted my attention. The third trailer that got posted this week was stunning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was at a film screening earlier in the week, and they showed the third trailer on the big screen beforehand, and to say anything, I did tear up, and I think it's fair to say it's allowed, because it looks beautiful, and it will be beautiful, and it will be amazing.
So there you go. That's an early review.
Yeah. That one I did the same as with Godzilla and with Guardians, where I went from not being interested at all to seeing some just fantastic trailers for it and thinking I can't wait to see this movie. So.
Yeah, and then we saw Godzilla. Oh well. Or should I say, a bunch of useless humans running around talking pointlessly, featuring Godzilla. That was a fun film to watch.
Hopefully you enjoy this one more than
Oh,
that.
I think so. Actually, I'm very interested because being the massive Google Plus advocate that I am, I'm very interested in what Christopher Nolan and is it Paramount?
Yes.
It is Paramount. Thank God for that. That they're doing a big thing, a big tie-in with Google in terms of having workshops, hangouts. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what they're going to do as a tie-in with Google Plus and Interstellar. So that's going to be interesting. And like you say, that's starting to ramp up now for a release in November. So that should be cool. Excellent. Well, I suppose the next person to go on to, and who's had a very big summer, is Tina. So,
Yep.
hello, right then, Tina. What's been in your diary since July? What have you been up to?
When I came back, I was straight on preparing for our local convention. It was on the first week of September, and then we were helping them prep up all the articles and all the guest announcements that were coming a little late because they didn't want to be contractually completed yet. So by the time they were announcing the guests, people were getting very excited because they were all the comic book artists that the fans here had been waiting for, like Humberto Ramos and Olivia Coppel, and then David Mack, who was here last year, returned for this year's con as well, and of course Cameron Stewart, who just did the Batgirl, came along. So he and David Mack was doing the Fight Club panel together. And we also had a lot of toy designers, like Scott Collison and Frank Cosmic. So people were just geeking out. We were kind of glad that it was skewed a little slightly more to the westernized pop culture because anime and manga is really strong here. And there are a lot of anime and cosplay events throughout the year. So we felt a little left out. And so this year's guest list was like one of the best so far. I think the fanboys were all like queuing up for commissions, especially when it opens at in the morning. They'll start queuing up at Humberto's to try to score some commissions because there were a limited number that he would do for the day, and then they would just line up. And his art prints sold out within the 4 p.m. on the first day. It was almost all sold out because people were just hankering for his stuff. We have to note that not many people here. It's just not Singaporeans, so there will be like Indonesians and Filipinos and Malaysians, and they'll fly in. So it's not many fans who can afford going all the way to San Diego, of New York Comic Con or a convention in the United States to see their the famous artists that they've always fantasized meeting. So this was the best chance that they could have. The other thing was the artist alley, as you mentioned, where they actually focus on artist alley. He placed a lot of focus on the artist alley, and he has grown, I think, to maybe 1.5 or twice its size from last year. And what was interesting this year was it was just not Singapore Malaysians who are based here, who have their booths. There were people from India. He flew here all the way from Mumbai to his staff merchandise and all that. And then there were the South Koreans, and then the Japanese, I think, and I see a Thai representative as well. So I think that is what we hope to achieve for the artists in first, like a hub. So it's a good way of getting these people to come together from the region, and we are also different but yet similar. So that would be a nice mix to see if the show continues to grow, which it seems to be, because I think from what I heard, last year it was about a high 30,000 or so for a 2-day convention. I think this year they reached 40,000 or more attendees.
Oh, that's great.
That's still impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, very quickly. I mean, I don't think we actually said at the beginning what the name of that was, because I always get the acronym wrong, and I've actually written it out STGCC, and that stands for
Singapore Toy Games and Comic Convention, because it's supposed to cover these three things. Although they have been trying very hard for games representation for the last few years. I think the games companies are not that interested unless many of them are coming together as a group. So, and Hasbro has their own thing. So the games part is a bit lacking for the last few years. The toys is a very strong representative. I think people here are crazy about designer toys, especially. So, Hot Toys, you know, Bay. All these are very big things, and designer toys, especially exclusives, they are all great. It will sell out usually within the first day, and then of course the comics. So, but this year there's another convention coming out which is called GameStart Asia, last week of October. That's the only gaming convention happening this year. I think. They managed to get like PlayStation, Sony, Nintendo, Razer. So I'm not sure how it's going to be, but it looks very hopeful. I think a lot of people are very excited about GameStart. So let's see how that goes. My friends are covering it because I won't be here. I will be back for my holiday. So we'll see how that goes, and then I'll probably tweet about it or retweet my friends' pictures and all that.
Cool. I mean, it's something that I've been following on your Twitter. Just how it's certainly representative of when we talk about how nerd culture and con culture is growing. Certainly in America, the UK, Europe, wherever. But it's worldwide. It's just worldwide. The level of anticipation is absolutely massive. So yeah, it's certainly. It's encouraging to see, and like you say, the numbers are getting more and more involved. So that's cool. Excellent. Okay, Ella, are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You just right. Just checking, just for keeping things going.
I'm still awake.
Yes, because it is half past 1 in the morning in Singapore. So, like I say, we are going to try and keep these under an hour. So that's what we'll be doing, and it's good to see that people have been keeping busy since Comic-Con this year. Right. So, one person that is conspicuously absent this week, as I believe as was last week, was Alyssa. Unfortunately, we have sent the invite out, and apparently that she's struggling to find the invite at the moment. But hopefully, Alyssa will be joining us from the Friends of CCI.com forum, where hopefully we'll find out what they've been talking about on the forum over the last 7 days. Don't forget as well, we've got a number of people watching live. If you want to interact with us, go to the Google Plus event page, click on the Q&A button, and any questions that you want us to, or any topics that you want us to discuss in the next half hour, do let us know, and we'll go through to that. Right, the first topic of conversation that I do want to look into and to get a couple of opinions from our guests is certainly something that came from an article that was posted just before last weekend. It was something I wanted to talk about last week, but we didn't get around to talking about it, unfortunately. And this was under the heading of Has Comic Book Conventions Jumped the Shark? This was under the title The Hidden Truth, and it was asking why exhibitors are griping about the con, not necessarily for them anymore, and certainly when it comes to making any money. This was from the wife of an artist that was a regular attendee at comic conventions and San Diego Comic-Con, who was feeling that that the attention had shifted from for fans to the big flashy Hollywood headliners that do come to conventions, and also when they're sat behind their exhibitors' tables, seeing people being more excited about the cosplayers that are on the floor rather than speaking to them as exhibitors. I suppose I can open up to my guests. Do you go to the exhibition floor and do you speak to exhibitors, or do you make the effort to do so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Tina.
Yeah. At least 1.5, 2 days of it. Whenever I have time, I'll just hitting the exhibition hall.
You absolutely focus on that. Excellent. Martin? Oh, hello. We've got Alyssa, who has joined us. How about that for timing?
Uh-oh, what I miss?
Hi, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm fine. Sorry about the delay.
Not a problem at all. I know that you've had a couple of commitments today. We have just done a quick introduction with everyone. We'll come back to yourself, Alyssa, because we'll also want to talk about what's been discussed on the forum very shortly indeed. But we're talking about the article that was posted a week ago regarding has comic book conventions jumped the shark? This was from an article written by the wife of an artist who exhibits at Comic-Con. I think you'll pick up where we are from the questions and where we're with our discussions. Martin, do you go to the exhibition floor? Do you speak to artists when you can?
I do, actually. Just at this past Long Beach Comic-Con, I spent so much more money on art than I had intended when I went, which I think we've all kind of done, right? And you know, I had my son with me who's 11, and we stopped at a booth where there were a couple of Kaboom artists and writers, and they couldn't have been nicer to him. You know, we bought an Adventure Time book that one of them signed for him, and we bought a comic that we didn't know about before that we got simply because this guy took the time to tell us about it, and it turned out to be really nice. So we enjoyed that, and yeah, we do a lot of. I don't go to the big panels, so I'm never in that Hall H line for taking up my whole day. So yeah, I spend a lot of time on the floor actually.
Excellent. I mean, you're talking about there about the amount of money that you spend. Do you think that perhaps there is that element of when people talk about that they focus a lot on the cosplayers on the floor, is because at the end of the day the cosplayers are free. They're there. You kind of know the language that's involved. You go and ask the cosplayer for the photograph, you pose with the cosplayer, you talk to them, and it's because they're as kind of like fans with you that there's less pressure to approach them. But I can certainly say from personal experience that I feel a little bit intimidated when there's this guy that I've been following as a comic book artist or creator is sat right there, and I don't know how to approach them at the end of the day.
Yeah, I kind of went two different ways with that article. I'm sorry I just jumped in front of you there, Mark. I'll shut up in a minute. But you know, on the one hand, I can see, you know, her point, because you know, you hear things like on the whatever you call that SD Concast, where they say. You know, let's say, oh, no one's going to be at this panel. You know, that panel stinks. It's just a bunch of writers. You know, and so if it's not stars from a show or a movie, they don't want to see it. And I get pretty annoyed by that, right? And you know, when you're able to walk into the Batman 75th panel that has Neil Adams and of course I'm blanking on the names even though I was at the panel. Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller, and your Grant Morrison and these folks, right? And they're all on the panel, on the same panel, and you can walk in 5 minutes beforehand to see it and hear them talk about their comic for an hour, you know, or their comic history for an hour, and you know, meanwhile you have to camp out 15 hours to see the guy that might be in the movie. And so I can see where if you're a creator that could wear on you, you know, and I definitely understand that. But at the same time, if you can't sell your stuff at Comic-Con, no one owes you that, right? So, taste change, people change, and you go to the wig place, which wasn't there 5 years ago. Now you can't get near it because they sell these amazing wigs, and you go to all the different crafting places where you buy stuff for cosplaying, and it's just so maybe the market has changed a little bit, and that doesn't mean it's broken. So yeah, I really am of two minds of the whole thing. I understand her point, but at the same time, I don't necessarily feel for her.
I think it's something that Mark can relate to as well. You can jump in on this as well, because obviously Mark's focus is very much perhaps the film and television stuff, but I think it's the same kind of drill, that you can feel a little bit intimidated when they're up there on the signing panel, or perhaps when you see them at the panel. That's great. There's kind of, what the language is. They're there to talk, and you can ask questions if you've got the nerve to go and ask the Q&A. But if you do spot them on the floor, you can feel that kind of that nerd freak out, perhaps, where you just don't know quite how to approach people.
Yeah, I think you're right, Leonard. It is that part of how do you go up and just say hello and just go, I'm one of your biggest fans. But the thing is, they get this all the time, and we know that 99% of these people are really nice and are happy to stand and talk to these people, but you're always worried about it. But ultimately, you've just got to think to yourself, these are human beings, they're just doing a job. I mean, everybody does a job. Okay, they've got a cool job, but they're just doing a job. This is the whole thing. I mean, when I first started out interviewing people, I would be really nervous, like really nervous. And now I'm just like, hey, it's fine. There's only a couple of people who I've really got worried about and thought, oh, I'm not sure I'm doing a good job here or anything. But you get used to it in time. And I think if you're at a con for the whole weekend, if you get in there the first day, straight to somebody and say, hi, I'm a big fan, could you sign it? From then on, your confidence just spirals and spirals. And you just, by the end of it, you're talking to everybody and they're probably thinking, oh, God, when's he going to shut up? Is he going to leave soon or what? But as Martin said, and he's right in this, you go to speak to somebody and they will tell you about their comic history, and from there you understand what they've done, and all of a sudden you start seeking out new stuff as well. So it does help in you digging out new things as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's the same. I was going to ask Alyssa, because I know that Alyssa has had some art signed and done at conventions. I'll cover this very quickly because I want to come back to the main core of what we're talking about. But say, for example, when you do see an artist in Artist Alley, I'm always nervous about how to approach them, especially when perhaps they're already doing some artwork. Oh, Alyssa?
Right.
Oh, she's froze.
Is she frozen?
Yeah.
No, we seem to have lost her.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. Oh, yes, no. 5, 4, 3.
I should be here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Just about.
Frozen on.
Just about hear you.
My
You're frozen on ours. But anyway,
side.
I'll tell you what. If you want to just launch into it, and we'll see if we can hear you. What are your thoughts on it?
First off, I didn't read the article, so I'm behind in that. But usually my approach with artists is
no, we are breaking up. Oh no.
So I think one of the other things with
we'll come back to Alyssa. Alyssa, we'll come back to you because you're breaking up. I'm afraid you may need to restart your router or something. I don't know. We'll try that again. Martin.
Oh yeah. So one of the other things with approaching artists or creators too, you see someone with a bunch of books on their table, and I personally sometimes I don't want to go and look through them because I actually feel like I'm not planning to buy one, and then I feel like I'm wasting their time, right? And so they may think, well, no one's interested in what I have, but really I think there's a there's a bit of a I don't know, reluctance to approach somebody that you're not planning to buy something from, and that seems like a barrier to me. I don't know how I would overcome that if I were selling.
Well, I mean, I think that was what I was going to return back to, which was the main core of it about exhibitors are there. It's when they're making the investment and they're wanting to get an investment back, and they're feeling that they're putting all this time into appearing at cons and there's no money coming back.
Right.
At the end of the day, I don't know how we can encourage people to. I think that's the reason why I keep talking about that barrier that we want. I want to try and break down between exhibitors and attendees, because I think everyone would like to see these exhibitors keep returning to Comic-Con, and if they're feeling that they're not, if it's not worth it, then it's a bit. That's disheartening.
The point that she was trying to make was more of the barriers. I think she was more of the feeling that people were just looking at stuff or looking for cosplayers more than actually looking for comic book related things, which Comic-Con has become actually more pop culture than a lot of other smaller cons out there. Like for Singapore Comic Convention, you can't have the art actors around, so the focus is on comics, and therefore they make money. You know, it's not about the barrier. I think it's whether the people actually even come to the exhibition hall because they're queuing up for Hall H.
Yeah.
So enough interested people who are attending Comic-Con who are interested in comics per se, and all curious enough to find out more about.
Oh, we're losing Tina as well.
Characters that they're watching on TV. And can you hear me?
And we've lost Tina completely. You're breaking up a little bit. We're having a little bit of transatlantic issues. This is where technology just kind of like fights us. You keep popping back to us. You do keep. Oh, we do keep popping back. Let's try Alyssa one more time. Let's just see if she's there. One more try. Alyssa, are you there?
Test 1 2 1 2.
There she is.
It's a little bit stronger. That's fantastic.
I think it's my ISP, to be honest with you. It's been a bit flaky. But to the topic, I don't talk to artists except to comment about the day or in light conversation, unless there's a specific thing that I want to know from them, and then it's just very short. I don't feel the need to take up their time. So I just get my signature and move on. If I can say something funny and make them laugh, that's a plus. So I did not read the article though, so yeah, I'm clueless.
I'm going to put the link for that article. It's probably I'm going to probably put it at the bottom of the video description for this. It was certainly, there was a level of frustration that they were wanting to make a business, and they were just feeling that attendees weren't going to Comic-Con to speak to them anymore, and that I also had a small thing, like Martin says. At the end of the day, you've got to kind of appeal to the people who are walking around, and if you do kind of look a little bit off-putting and depressed at the fact that people are taking pictures of cosplayers, it's a little bit. You can be a little bit off-putting, I suppose.
Well, but I'm also the person that goes up and reads and looks at all of the art books, because I am interested in purchasing stuff. I would much rather purchase an original page than ask for a sketch. Asking for a sketch really intimidates me.
Same here. Absolutely same here.
I can never think of anything cool to have them do. I asked for a sketch from Scotty Young, and I'm like, why didn't I think about Rocket? You know, instead I got a Silver Surfer, which I'm not so happy about.
Oh, okay.
And here was Scotty Young. You know, I was like, what was I thinking? So that's my take on it. But I think the big ones, the big the in-demand people, that they don't really have a problem. I think there's a lot of B artists, you know, or lesser tiered artists that are the ones that are really suffering. Sure. You know, from the market, and maybe that they need to be more at the Boston Comic-Cons and the you know, the not San Diego cons, you know, that are increasingly entertainment focused and have become very pulp culture. So they need to be at Reed Pop's con that they had a couple of months ago that was more designed for just comics.
Sure.
And
well, that's going to be the next topic of conversation, because we've had a comment come in on the Q&A. Thank you very much indeed for taking part, if you are asking questions, by Carl Clement at SDCC. Getting around the floor can be the biggest issue in getting to Artist Alley. Crowds cause me to avoid certain areas. I can certainly understand that. It can be a bit awkward to get to, but when it's all in one area, I don't think we can avoid it. I don't think Artist Alley is very much a massive part of Comic-Con, and I think if it's not Artist Alley, I think we may be talking about these small exhibitor booths that perhaps people are a little bit unsure about how to approach. Because at the end of the day, I keep thinking, okay, they're seeing me walking up and looking at this stuff, but I'm certain they want me to get my wallet out as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course, and that's kind of my reasoning behind not really wanting to take up much of their time. You know, and if I can make them laugh, you know, and say something, you know, or comment or compliment their work and move along, because I know I'm not going to buy anything. It's just a totally different style than from something that I like. I count that as a win.
Cool.
I feel sorry for the people who look lonely, though, the artists that look lonely.
Yeah. I often think that perhaps that, because it is such an extortionate, well, not extortionate, it's just really expensive. It's just really expensive to exhibit at Comic-Con. I wouldn't say, yeah, okay. That's really completely shoot. I'll shoot myself in the foot right now. How's that?
That brings up another topic that kind of segues into this, which is the cost of exhibiting in these booths is dependent upon the venue. So to exhibit at San Diego is a lot less expensive than it is to exhibit at like the Javits Center in New York City, where you've got the unions and all of the service fees, the cost to offload your stuff from the truck, and then the cost to get the stuff from the truck to your booth, and the cost to set up your table, and the cost to set up power at your table. That seems to really hit some of the exhibitors. So that may be why some of the smaller exhibitors don't really go to some of the bigger conventions.
Sure.
You know.
The person who wrote this article, I'd really like to try and get her on the Hangout to talk about this, because while I don't want to think that we've over-talked it on this particular Hangout, I wouldn't mind getting, certainly from her perspective, what she thinks. I might just ask her and see if she can join us at a future Hangout.
I think she's probably in hiding right now from all the nerds. Maybe give her a month.
I think sooner rather, it's a band-aid. Get it sorted quicker. It just gets
there you go.
I don't think we'll be talking about this next week, because next week is going to be all about New York Comic-Con. Like I say, if you didn't catch our interview with Brian Stevenson from Repop, which we took the time to do last week, that was very cool. Has that been a topic of conversation for yourself and everyone on the forum, Alyssa?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's everybody who's going. That's everything. That's all everybody is talking about. Conflicts. how can they have the Daredevil signing the same time as close to the same time as the Daredevil panel, which is, I mean, Cons 101. Of course, it's going to be at the same time. So there's a lot of juggling. Which signatures are you going to get? It's pretty typical stuff going on. The interesting thing that I am really looking forward to seeing how it's going to work out is the room clearing of the main room. And they seem like they've got it worked out. And I hope they do, because it's a really interesting experiment. I'm not sure I like the idea, because I like the serendipity of seeing shows beforehand. That said, there's also a lot of people are just still talking logistics about how to get into the city from their hotel. Do they have tickets? Because they don't assign tickets to a name. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I do think that it's going to be something that's I really do wish I could go to. We are going to hopefully try and have something a little bit more of a taste of that next week. You're not going to be able to join us, I understand, Alyssa, because you're going to be there. However, go on.
I actually am, if I have Wi-Fi in the VIP room and there is not a major conflict, I will try and check in. It may be dodgy, but I will try. See if you can get a view.
The Javits Center internet is horrible.
Well,
that's encouraging.
Since I have a VIP ticket, I'm hopeful that the Wi-Fi will be good in the VIP room, not on the floor.
Even in the press room, the internet connection is bad. So even about it. Only at certain spots. You'll be going like.
Oh, good lord.
Well, I'm going to invite me, and I will try and give you at least a picture of what's happening in the VIP room by turning my computer around.
That'd be cool. Well, considering that we're also going to be having someone else who's volunteered to report in with us as well, so I'll try and get some more information about that. But yeah, we're hopefully going to be having 2 on-site reports from New York Comic Con next week. That's going to be cool. So yeah, hopefully fingers crossed that'll all work. Okay.
It seems like right now the sort of New York-based superheroes are getting a lot of attention too. Netflix is doing all the stuff with the street-level heroes. So. Yeah, this could be a con that actually gets comics.
The big thing that Brian was talking about, and that I'm super jazzed about, is the Daredevil, which is they're shooting, in Hell's Kitchen, 10, within 10 blocks of the Javits Center, which I think that's absolutely wonderful. I cannot wait for that show. I'm a huge Daredevil fan. Just bought a 7, Daredevil 7, first read, yeah, and talk about expensive. So that's my one must-see panel.
Cool. Excellent.
But back to what you were saying, yeah.
No, sure. I mean, I'm trying to remember as well, because I'm thinking of the other news headlines that have happened this week, and then we'll spend 10 minutes talking about the one final topic. Ted 2, is that going to be shooting at New York Comic Con next week, or is that going to be the next one?
I have no idea. I didn't look at it. I saw it, but I didn't.
You're not thinking about getting on screen. You're not thinking about making your screen debut.
Oh no! Oh, not me. No. I'm a stagehand. I'm behind the scenes. Even getting me on screen this far is kind of weird, but there you go.
Oh man! But that was something. I'm trying to do the research on this one, because obviously the press release that came out saying, oh yeah, Ted 2 is going to be filming at Comic Cons, and then I found a picture saying that, by the way, they're also going to be filming at San Diego next year. And I'm thinking, okay, let's see if we can I want to try and get this. Yeah, if Paul can't get filmed at Comic-Con, let's have Ted filmed at Comic-Con. Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that was one thing that came up. Right, I'm going to launch into this one, and then we'll kind of wrap up. This was regarding a story that broke last night, and this is regarding the third Comic-Con, or the third event that Comic-Con International organized. They organized San Diego Comic-Con, they organized WonderCon, and they also organized APE, or they have done. This was an event which, as of yesterday, when the exhibitors received a notice stating that APE will now be returning to the original organizer, and therefore Comic-Con will not be involved in that event anymore. I suppose we're not going to talk about APE so much because that's taking part this weekend. It's not something I'm too familiar with, but it's more about now what the resources can be from Comic-Con for perhaps a third con. Do you think there's space in the Comic-Con organization for a third con? Where could it be held? And what could its focus be? What's everyone's thoughts on this one? From an outsider's perspective, Mark, do you think there could be a film-based Comic-Con to take the pop culture and make it a separate con?
I think San Diego Comic-Con has got that wrapped up, and I think everybody knows about it and has known about the film aspect of it for so long that they're not going to move it from anywhere. I do think it's interesting that they've taken it away, absolutely. But I just wonder if they kind of thought, you know, this one's not doing particularly well for us, or it's on an even keel, we're not seeing any progression, so they just want to get rid, and now they've just got two to focus on. I get the feeling that maybe CCI are just not particularly bothered about too much expansion, really. And this one is probably just one that they thought, let's pass it back to these people.
Ah. That's an interesting perspective, considering that the report that they handed out was very much a case of we're still very enthusiastic about this, and we're glad that we're handing it back to someone who is as passionate about it as we are. But I kind of read a little bit in between the lines, like you say, that they are wanting to focus possibly on something that they're feeling that is a raging bull, and if they don't grab the reins on this, on the if not the headliners, the WonderCon and the San Diego Comic-Con events, then they could get thrown off at any point, especially when it looks like the expansion's not going to happen, and they're having to focus so hard to make it work at the end of the day.
Well, if CCI have got a team of people just working on APE, and yet, as we said about at San Diego and at WonderCon, you know, their resources are being lost by this team of people who are working on APE that probably isn't doing particularly well for these people, and they want to move them over to others. So you can possibly read between the lines, as you said, Leonard, and I think that's possibly what the answer might be unofficially.
Unofficially. What's the comments being made on the forum about this? I mean, I know this is literally breaking. This happened last night. Well, 24 hours ago, technically.
No real comments on it. It was reported, but nobody's really talking about it. I have to agree with Mark that I tend to think that, and that was my initial feeling about it, was that CCI was just, it wasn't a big, it wasn't taking up a lot of their resource and was relatively smaller in the scheme of things, and they just, why not give it to somebody who can really devote all of their energy to it and make it be what it should be, which is the Alternative Press Expo. You know, a bigger deal than they could probably, than CCI could put the efforts into, and maybe they are thinking about a third one. I think that's a great idea, especially in light of SLCC and that whole incident that's going forward with the infringement on the brand of SDCC.
Sure.
You know, it just kind of throws another light on it. I mean, I would love to. I know that there's a big demand for a con in the San Francisco area, and if they could come up with something in there, it would be a huge hit.
Sure. I mean,
San Francisco deserves a con.
I mean, we were talking about this with Martin before we came on air, because I suggested that perhaps that they could kind of separate the focus of the cons and make a dedicated comic convention. Not so much maybe the small press that APE handled, but certainly more as a dedicated comic convention. But then Martin said at the end of the day, in San Diego, there's something like that already happening.
Is there?
Yeah, there's the San Diego Comic Fest, which happens in a couple of weeks. It's the original Comic-Con creators, and they've actually gone more the direction that I like. Is everyone's getting sort of a whine on here? I'm getting a really weird noise.
No, that's me.
Oh, okay.
The whine is always me.
So they're taking advantage of the fact that there's some fairly high profile science fiction writers that live in San Diego. There's David Brin and Werner Vinge and Greg Bear, and they're bringing them in. They have a pretty big author, writers track. They're bringing in. Last year they brought in some folks from local observatory, and they had these cool like you could go and look at a telescope during a panel, that kind of thing. And so they're going, rather than saying we're going to do comics and the outgrowth of that is pop culture, they're going to say we're going to do comics, and then the outgrowth of that is other nerdly things like science and technology. Yeah.
That's great.
That grew at Comic-Con.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. They had NASA there, and So I think it's a cool way to go, personally. So I suspect, honestly, with this whole ape thing, that it might really be a case of where you could make like 6 theories, right? You could say this means they're going to spend their focus on a different con, right? So now that weekend opens up at the Moscone Center, Ape goes over to San Jose, boom, Comic-Con's in there with another one. Or you could say, go the totally other way and say they're going to focus on Comic-Con. Or it could turn out that they just decided it was too much work, and there's really no theory behind it at all.
Sure. That press release kept it pretty open. It's got to be said.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the size of the Sacramento Civic Center?
I don't
Convention Center. Do they have any?
I don't know. I know they do. I can't think of the name of it. Sean Marshall always goes up to the convention that they have up there and seems to really like it, but I can't remember what it's called.
No, we'd have to ask Sean on this one.
I'm just thinking that if there was another venue not necessarily in San Francisco, but within an hour or two of San Francisco, that could handle the capacity of a WonderCon North, that would be a worthy source, a worthy endeavor for CCI, if they have the bandwidth to actually do a third major con.
Right.
And given the fact that they have, only a couple, 3 people, 4 people on staff, I think full time. I think most of their people are 1099s, or at will employee, or not. What do you call that? Independent contractors.
Yeah.
That might be indeed the problem of how do you expand with and still keep your structure the way it is without broadening into a more business-like model, which CCI inherently doesn't do.
They try to avoid like the plague. Yeah.
Yes. So.
Well, it's something that I tried to get. I did ask a little bit too late, unfortunately, but I wanted to ask David Glanzer's take on this. But if you've been following David Glanzer on social media, the boy is on holiday, and so I know that APE is taking part this week, but when CCI's Director of Press and Public Relations is away on holiday, maybe there's a clue there as well about the level of focus, perhaps.
I do know that it was really hard on all of CCI for the last convention with the delay in the tickets and the real tightening of the comps, so they couldn't be as friendly with people, and they had to say no a lot to the extra press badges and the pro badges and that sort of thing. That I can understand them being very stressed after the last con and needing a break and realizing that this is just too much to do. And
what you're saying then, Alyssa, is that really they should be employing somebody else to maybe look at doing a third con. I mean, if they are, then I'm happy to put my name in the hat and go over. That's not a problem. And my first order of business would be, if they have got a San Francisco Comic Con, is to have Tommy Wiseau to open that con. There we go. I think that's perfect in my CV. I've done it.
Well, okay, well,
that sounds like a wonderful idea.
Okay, well, if you need a PA, I do make a really nice cup of tea. It's not the best CV in the world, but it's the one I can present. So
we'll have to look it up. We'll have to double check your references, I'm afraid.
I mean, that was one of the things that I really liked about Brian's talk, and I really got a sense of just how massive an organization ReedPop was.
I had an idea, but my God, when he was rattling off the events
India,
they're doing the Star Wars celebrations, which are not small events. They are mammoth events. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they go all out. So but the ReedPop is very much a commercial business.
Right.
CCI is non-profit. It's effectively full volunteers, and yeah, it's a different set of priorities. So absolutely.
Going to that Star Wars one, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We bought tickets 2 years in advance.
Cosplaying?
Oh yeah. That's we have a week over Christmas where we're going to be vacuum forming in my brother's garage, making helmets and stuff.
Oh, man. You see, I saw you more as Jedi.
We go back and forth.
Two costumes. Costumes.
Excellent. So yeah, okay. So just to sum up, I do want to try and get hold of David Glanzer for his response to the APE announcement. I also am going to do my best to get hold of the person who was behind the article relating to exhibitors at Comic-Con. And next week, then, New York Comic-Con, the person who's going to be joining us is a comics journalist and writer, Joel Meadows. He's been on a Hangout before Comic-Con this year. He's very quickly come on and spoken to us once. He does want to come back, and he's going to be at New York Comic Con. So, along with Alyssa, we should have hopefully 2 on-site reviews or reports from New York Comic Con. Which, like I say, from someone who hasn't been, I can't wait for that. That's going to be cool.
You have to come next year. Just find a cheap fare, and we'll set up you could bunk with me and Lewis.
That sounds appealing.
Cheap fare. Cheap airline fare.
Okay, I don't think that perhaps the sarcasm came through on that one. But
no, it didn't. Oh yeah, Lewis. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I think we've lost Martin purely because he has got to disappear, and I think he's, like I say, he wanted to go to the this convention that he's going to. So thank you very much indeed to Martin Burke. If you do want to follow him on Twitter, that's Martin_SD. Hopefully as well, I'll encourage him to post not only pictures of his previous cosplays, which are incredible with himself and his wife, and his brother as well. They all just really make a full effort on it. But also try and get a report on the con that he's gone to today. Right, I think we'll a nice tight hour. I think that's pretty cool. I know that we haven't exactly gone and spoken a great deal to Tina, but thank you. I know. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and you have contributed, and really, it's been great to have you join us. And thank you very much indeed for that report on Singapore as well. That was great. Yeah. Where can people find you, Tina? Online?
Yes, my handle on Twitter is Sizzlin, SYZZLYN, or you can find me on Facebook under the Red.Diva page.
And you can also find her on Google Plus if you search for Red.Diva. I push Google Plus. Deal with it. Thank you very much indeed, Tina. Where can people find you, Mark?
I'm only on Twitter. I'm not anywhere else. So you can find me on Twitter, Mark_Searby, which is SEARBY. You'll see a little picture of my head. I'm sort of cut off a little bit. So that's me. I will be mostly talking about film, and the majority of that talk will be about how bad the films are. So enjoy that.
Well, okay. What's the crappiest film at the moment then?
The worst film of the year so far is Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return.
Okay, so there you go. That's the one to avoid if you spot it on Netflix, if it's on there for like the 30 seconds that it's before it gets ditched completely. Excellent. And thank you very much indeed for joining us, Alyssa. I know that it was kind of like halfway through, and we kind of muddled through some technical issues. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Once again, where can people find you, Alyssa?
friendsofcci.com/forum. That's where I hang out the most. And contrary to what Mark just said, he also sometimes will post on the forum too. Just shh.
Yes, I see his name on occasion, and it's good to have him take part in those discussions.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Right, and you can find myself at An Englishman in San Diego on Google Plus, which is google.com/+An Englishman in San Diego. You can also find me on Twitter at Englishman SDCC. Thank you very much indeed to my guests for joining us. Hopefully we'll be having, like I say, Alyssa joining us next week. We're also going to be having Ian O'Hara joining us, who is known on a number of social circles. And like I say, we'll hopefully be having Joel Meadows as well, joining us live from New York Comic Con next Sunday. Thank you very much indeed. Don't forget, if you do want to continue the conversation, you can either get in contact with any of us on the various social medias, or indeed you can jump on the Google Plus event page and continue the conversation there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channels. We're on YouTube, YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. What else? I think that's pretty much us. I think that's pretty much done. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Do take care, and hopefully we'll see you again next week for another cup of tea with myself, An Englishman in San Diego. Bye-bye, everybody. Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
There you go. Mics are still working.
I thought waving was enough.
Yeah, but we do audio versions of these as well, so they want to hear you.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Okay. It's okay. I'm not going to ask you to sing a song or anything. Don't worry about it.
Oh, please don't. You would not be happy.
Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.